Hello everyone, my name is Noemi Taborda and I'm the Senior Assistant Dean at USC Financial Aid. I want to welcome you to today's Google Hangout. We have a great group of people here to answer questions you might have as you're preparing for enrolling at USC in this upcoming fall. So if you have any questions, I would like to invite you to enter your questions on the Google Hangout page. There's a little Rubik's Cube-like button that you would click and submit any questions that you might have regarding financial aid. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce to you the group of USC Financial Aid professionals which have gathered together today to help you with your questions. I'm going to start with Jessica and Lori, if you guys don't mind introducing yourselves.
Sure. Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Medina and welcome. We're excited to have you guys join us today.
And I'm Lori Council and I'm here representing the Office of Student Financial Services and the University Cashier's Office.
Thanks guys. Christy and Anthony.
Hi, I'm Christy Culpepper, and I work in financial aid in the Student Contact Center. So if you've ever called USC or come into the lobby, you've probably seen me or my colleagues. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I work in financial aid. Right now I'm working in the aid coordination department, basically putting together students' financial aid packages after it goes through the EFC analysis to determine the need for the families.
Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Jose Luis Hernandez, and I work as an associate director here at USC, working with the loan unit.
Thank you. Casey.
Hi, I'm Casey. I'm a financial aid counselor here at USC. I do a little bit of everything, but right now I'm mainly working with Jose in loans and Jessica with outreach.
Thanks, Casey. All right, so again, I want to invite everyone to submit your questions so we can help you and answer them live right now on this Google Hangout. But before I get started answering any questions that may be coming in, I would like to go over the application process with you, which I'm sure many of you have already completed. If you have not had a chance to begin the financial aid process, then there's still time. There's still time to apply and to receive information to determine your eligibility for financial aid for the fall term. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, of course, submit your FAFSA, or the pre-application for federal student aid. And this can be accessed online at FAFSA.gov. Granted, it is a bit of a process. We encourage you to use the data retrieval tool, which is provided by the Department of Education and the IRS, to help obtain many of the details which your family may have already submitted through the tax process. After you do that, you may be asked to complete the CSS profile. CSS profile does include a fee. Some students may qualify for a waiver. This again, you'll probably want to have a copy of your 2015 tax return in order to complete this form. In addition to that, we may ask for additional information. And what you want to do in order to know what your next step might be in the financial aid application process is keep tabs on what we call the USC FAST page, or Financial Aid Summary and Tasks. And you can access that now as a prospective student through USC or YOUSC, and click on the Financial Aid tab to see what documents may be required in addition to the FAST and the profile. You'll also want to use FAST to see what the current status of your aid might be. So once you've received your financial aid summary, the application status tab, or the award status tab, excuse me, will tell you what the current status of your aid might be, when it will disperse, if you are required to do any additional steps to obtain your federal loans. Now with that, I'm going to move on to the questions that we have received so far. And our first question is from Sharon Park. Her question is related to the Student Health Center fee. She wants to know if it's mandatory. I'm going to ask Lori to help us with that question. Lori, do you mind?
One of the four mandatory.
I'm start again. I'm sorry, I had it on mute. I had our mic on mute. So
I'm sorry.
All over again.
Sorry. Okay. The Student Health Center fee is, in fact, mandatory. It's one of the four mandatory fees that will be assessed each semester that you register for at least 6 units. That health center fee does provide for some sort of basic medical services at the Ingham Student Health Center, and it funds and creates the health center on campus. All students that attend classes on campus are charged those mandatory fees. So the answer to your question is yes, it is mandatory. You're not able to waive that fee.
Okay, thanks, Lori. Let me see. I have a new question here for you, or for anyone, actually. Now, this question is for Christy. Christy, I was wondering if you could tell me about the books and supplies that are listed on a student's financial aid summary, and how students might be able to use their financial aid funds to pay for books.
Sure. So you'll notice on your FAST summary that there is a budget for your books. And the way that you can utilize your financial aid to do that, financial aid gets dispersed 10 days before classes begin. And if there's excess funds, that money can be refunded to you, either through a direct deposit or a check. And you can utilize that money to buy your textbooks at the USC bookstore. Or if you want to use an outside source to purchase them, you can do that as well. And I was just in the bookstore this morning, and they also have the opportunity to rent your textbooks at USC. So there's several ways you can do that. And then also, let's say maybe there might be a delay or something with your financial aid. You can add money to your discretionary account, which is like your USC card, and then you can utilize that to purchase your books at the bookstore as well.
Great, thanks a lot, Christy. That's a really great answer. You know, another question that we often get from students is related to scholarships. And students at USC, incoming students, often receive scholarships from outside organizations. Now, Casey, if you don't mind telling us, if a student does receive a scholarship from an outside organization, how do they notify USC about that award?
Sure. So there's two different ways that you can usually get notification of a scholarship. First is you get like a letter just notifying you of the scholarship, and if you do receive that, you can send that in to us to your FAST account. In the document library, there's an area there to upload for outside scholarships. So you'd upload the notification letters to let us know that you received this award and for how much, and then we can add that into your financial aid package. Also, if you receive a scholarship check that supposed to be to USC, you can send that to us as well. You can either mail that to us, to our aid coordination group, and our address is on the website, or you can contact us for it. Or you could also walk it in to John Hubbard Hall, room 325, to the aid coordination office there as well. So if you do get an outside scholarship that's not already on your package, you want to be aware that it could have some effects though on your package as well. So if you get a new one, just be aware that there could be some changes. We'll try to let you keep as much of your aid as possible. We fill any additional federal need that you have first with that aid, but at some point, if you receive enough scholarships, we may have to start reducing other aid. And at that point, we start reducing loans first, your work study, and then we might have to touch some of your gift aid and reduce gift aid. So just keep that in mind that there could be some adjustments, but you can notify us either by uploading the notification or mailing or bringing in the check to the office. Also, if it is made out to University of Southern California, the check, make sure you also would you want to sign it before you send it in and endorse the check on the back.
Thanks, Casey. That's really helpful information. Now, often students at this point in time are wondering about their federal loans and when the funds from their federal loans will be dispersed. Jose, can you tell us a little bit about that process, how a student first would apply for the loans and make sure that the funds are dispersed to their account in a timely manner?
Sure. So once you receive your financial aid offer letter, you'll notice that you may receive a type of student loan, either subsidized or unsubsidized. Really quickly, subsidized just indicates that there's no interest being accrued on the loan while you've asked for it, and unsubsidized means that there is interest. But aside from that, having the award itself be on the award letter doesn't indicate that it's automatically going to disperse into your account. You need to take additional steps. So the first thing you want to do is go onto your financial aid and summary and tasks form, or your FAST, and submit a Stafford loan request form. There you'll indicate how much of the loan you would like to borrow. You can either request a maximum amount or a lesser amount. After that, you'll follow up with submitting a master promissory note, which is essentially a contract between yourself and the federal government, indicating that you plan to repay the loan back after you either graduate or are enrolled less than half time. Additionally, after that, you also have to supplement that with entrance loan counseling. Once you've done all of those steps, and you'll be able to track that on your financial aid status on your FAST page, you'll be able to go ahead and see the loans dispersed into your account no sooner than 10 days before the start of your class. So once those have dispersed, you'll see the funds credit into your account. It'll go towards paying any direct fees, and if there's any money left over, you would use that excess funds to pay any indirect costs, such as books and supplies or off-campus housing. In the case where you are still pending some items for your loans, but the bill is due, once the loans have dispersed into your account, you want to make sure that you contact our office so that we can make sure that any late fees or finance charges that may have been applied to your account as a result of the delay can be removed or waived by our office.
Thank you, Jose. That's really helpful information as well. Now, I'd like to ask Jessica about work-study jobs, because that's often something that students are thinking about right now. How can they find a work-study job, and what typically are work-study job funds used for?
For work study, you want to keep in mind that this is a very proactive process. So we don't place students in work study positions. It's really the student going out into the USC community and seeking out employment. We do help facilitate that conversation. So during Welcome Week, when you actually come to campus, you'll get a schedule of all of the activities that will be happening during Welcome Week. And part of Welcome Week is that we actually host a work study fair. So if you actually came to the orientation on campus and you went to the expo fair where you were able to walk around and talk with different offices, it has the same feel to it. So you would be walking around and trying to seek employment on campus. What I would highly suggest for you to do is, prior to that work study fair, is that you actually take a look at your classes and you create your schedule of availability, because that's probably going to be the first question a potential employer asks is, what hours are you available to work per week? And that's really dependent on you. So you want to make sure that you try to find a balance between your classes and the amount of hours that you're working each week. And the funds. So the funds will go directly to you in the form of a check. So just like any other work check, it'll go directly to you every 2 weeks. And those funds are really meant to pay for day-to-day expenses. So if you look in your cost of attendance breakdown, you'll see a portion for personal and miscellaneous expenses, also for books and supplies, because we know that you're not just spending a huge chunk of money or an amount of money at the beginning of the semester to purchase your books. You need supplies throughout the semester, and that's what those funds would help fund for you throughout the semester. So another thing that I would want you to keep in mind is that don't use or think of those work study funds when you're calculating the amount that has to be financed on your e-pay account, because the funds won't actually disperse to your e-pay account. They'll go directly to you. I think that's it.
Thanks, Jessica. We have another question here from Mana, and Casey's going to help us out with it. So the question is, since she or he's a new transfer student and she passed the deadline for most of the scholarships, is there anything available now that a student might be considered for?
Sure. So for scholarships, the ones you're automatically just considered for, so the presidential trustee, those ones are already given out by admissions. That's just part of the admission process, and it's not something that you can be considered for at a later point. But in terms of other scholarships, you want to be looking a few different places. So you're correct that most of them are given out for this upcoming year. So for the most part, you're looking at planning for the 17-18 academic year and hoping to get some scholarships at that point. That being said, you still might be able to find some scholarships that are for this year, like different organizations, say Rotary Clubs or Lion. They may still be giving out, scholarships throughout the year. You can contact the different organizations, and if you receive money, you can send it to us at any time, and we'll add it to your package. And in addition to that, on our financial aid website, on the toolbox at the top, there's a scholarship link there, scholarship opportunities, and it will be updated with different scholarship opportunities that you can apply for. So right now I just looked, and there's a scholarship that has a deadline for July 31st, so in a couple days, for $2,000 for LA Philanthropic. So I don't know if that's, it doesn't say specifically if it's for this upcoming year, but you'd want to contact them and look at and just see if anything is updated throughout the year there as well. You could also continue to look through different websites like FastWeb, College Board, and just see what's available. And then also on the financial aid website, actually for the missions website, they do also have a link for merit-based scholarships that has a PDF that shows the different scholarships at USC, and it shows if it's for transfer students, incoming freshmen, or it also shows for continuing students. So you'd want to be looking at the ones for continuing students at this point and seeing if you can apply for any of those for the 17-18 academic year.
Thanks, Casey. Okay, I have a question here from Sharon Park, and Casey, I'm going to ask you to respond to this question as well. Now, Sharon's question is about her Cal Grant, SEOG, and Federal Pell Grant, which it looks like on her financial aid summary are still listed as estimated or pending. To get this aid approved, she wants to know if she needs to sign to authorize a Title IV funding form, and how long after she does the authorization will she be able to officially receive the funds?
Okay, so I'm also going to combine, I think, Mana's question right below it into it as well. She also asks a similar question, but she adds in the portion of it being she's a transfer student from a community college. So basically, if you are eligible for the Cal Grant, SEOG, or Federal Pell Grant, you will see on your package estimated numbers right now. So that basically means that we looked at your finances when you came in, and we determined that you would be eligible for the Cal Grant, but we have to verify that information with CSAC for the Cal Grant and with the federal government for the SEOG and the Pell Grant. So we're in the process of starting that now. We have to go through individually each student, and we should be starting pretty shortly, and then with the Pell Grants as well, we have to send ICER corrections and everything like that. So it just takes some time, and we'll be updating them and dispersing them. Right now, they can't even disperse, though, at the very earliest until 10 days before class starts, since that's the earliest federal aid can be dispersed. So for now, there's nothing you really need to do. You can be just right now, it's just being patient, and we'll get through them and disperse them when they're able to. Otherwise, if for some reason, though, during Welcome Week, you still don't have your Pell Grant or Cal Grant, you can come into the Lion Center where we'll be, and we can put a deferment on your account for that Cal Grant or Pell Grant that haven't been dispersed yet. The one thing that Mana talked about is the transfer students. And if you are a transfer student, you do want to make sure that you did the G6 form, which basically indicates the new school that you're going to be attending for the Cal Grant. So that's something that some transfer students don't do or forget about, and that can hold the process up. And then the only other thing, though, for the Cal Grant that you do want to know is if you go to CSAC, a lot of students actually also see that I'm eligible, but on the USC side, it shows that we haven't put an estimated Cal Grant in there. In that case, you want to again be patient, but that can happen for a few reasons. If you use estimates on the FAFSA, then we verify the information. At that point, you may not be eligible for the Cal Grant, and then it would be we would update the CSAC, and then they would get that and show that you're no longer eligible for the Cal Grant. Though if you are eligible for the Cal Grant and it's not on your USC account, if it is added, just know that for the most part it usually just reduces gift aid. So if you have a university grant that's over about $9,000, for the most part the university grant would be reduced for the same amount, since it's just still fulfilling the same need as the university grant. That's only things for the Cal Grant, but at this point it's mainly being patient, and we'll get everything taken care of, and if you need to, come in during Welcome Week and we can help you out.
Thanks, Casey. I'm actually going to ask Lori to talk a little bit more about the Title IV authorization form. So Lori, can you explain a little bit more why that form is important and why it is required and why students should complete it?
Certainly. Okay, so on your USCe.pay homepage, there will be an option for all students to answer a couple of questions under Title IV authorization. And so anyone receiving federal aid, we're asking you to log into your ePay page and complete that. It's going to ask you a few questions. You know, the quick answer is to say yes to all three of the questions. But basically, Title IV aid legally can only pay tuition, mandatory fees, housing, meals, and laboratory fees. But you may have additional charges on your student account, such as the health insurance or USC card charges or a parking permit, the football ticket. So if you just want your aid, your Title IV aid, to come in and pay anything and everything on your student account, which most students do, then of course answer yes to all the questions on the Title IV authorization. The cashier's office will prompt you if you haven't completed that Title IV authorization with a few emails getting you to answer excuse me, all those questions. I think that's it. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lori.
Sure.
All right, so we have another question here, and it's from Cindy Pham. Cindy wants to know, how does she apply for a Direct Plus loan, and how long does it take to get that approved? Okay, Jose, I'm going to toss that one over to you.
Sounds good. Cindy, that's a great question. Now, for undergraduates and transfer students, a plus loan will usually take the form of a Parent Plus loan. So Parent Plus loans are for the parents of dependent students. Typically what happens is parents will log in to studentloans.gov and there will be a small credit check. That credit check actually occurs immediately, and then they'll be submitted an email letting you know whether they've been approved. Once approved, it's sent over to our offices so that we can certify the loan, and then we'll submit the master promissory, or we'll send the information back to the federal government, who will then communicate to the parent borrower regarding the master promissory note and any entrance loan counseling that's required. Now, in the instance where a parent is not approved for a Parent Plus loan, the dependent student is eligible for an additional unsubsidized federal direct student loan. And the amount can vary depending on the grade level that you're coming into. For freshmen and sophomores, it's $4,000 additional in unsub, and for juniors and seniors, it's $5,000.
Thank you, Jose, for that answer. Now, one question that sometimes comes up among students is a better understanding of how much they will actually owe to the university, and that might be one of the reasons why they might be interested in a plus loan. So, Anthony, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how a student could determine what their final bill or how much money they might owe to the university.
Sure. Well, based on what you, how many classes, how many units you're taking, if you're doing undergrad, you would either be billed for flat rate tuition, which for undergrads is 12 to 18 units for full-time. So that's going to be a flat rate tuition, so there wouldn't be any confusion there, which will also be listed on your FAST page. They're going to assume that you're going to be full-time as an undergrad, so it'll tell you that it's, what is it now, 25 to 71 or 721, something like that, for flat rate tuition. The other fees, the mandatory fees, are also going to be added on there, so that's definitely going to be part of the bill. Anything that's other than something that we bill you directly, for example, if you're going to be living off campus, your financial aid is going to include an estimated housing or rent portion. That's not something that USC will bill you for if you're living off campus. So same thing with like the meal plan or food expense. So that's not going to be included in your bill if you're not living on campus and have a meal plan. So based on those things, you kind of estimate what's going to be your actual bill from USC. And then if you look at also on your FAST page, your financial aid breakdown, anything that's a loan or a grant, whether it's from USC or you know, it's a Cal grant or Pell grant, those will all apply towards your tuition and fees. Parent Plus loans included. Anything beyond that you would receive in the form of a refund to use for, again, if you're not living on campus, for rent, for books, for food. So you can kind of estimate how much you would get back at that point. But yeah, your actual bill would only be based on what the school is billing you for. And in most cases, it's just going to be pretty straightforward to figure out from your FAST page. It's going to be tuition and fees mostly for the most part. But if you live on campus and you have a meal plan, expect to see your room and board expenses on top of your tuition and mandatory fees. If your classes have lab fees, they're going to be tacked on there as well. Any kind of special instructions, individual instruction is going to be on there as well. If you have additional costs related to other programs, like a certain type of access fees, or if there's fees related to equipment that you need to use for your classes, that's going to be on there as well some of the time. But you can always request for additional room in your financial aid budget to get more funding to cover those, so you're not kind of up a creek without a paddle.
Thanks a lot, Anthony. Hey, Christy, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about, sort of related to the answer that Anthony gave us, but could you tell us a little bit about the planning worksheet, which is available on the financial aid summary?
Sure, it's a great tool that's going to help you kind of figure out what it is that's going to cost for you to go to USC. And you can look at your financial aid, you can look at what your bill is. And so we always encourage our students and families to work together. Your estimated cost of attendance is your budget, and then you have your USC fee bill. So you're going to get the fee bill shortly after you register, and you can kind of compare. And it's a great way to really work out a budget through the USC tool that Naomi was mentioning to see what your actual cost of attendance is going to be for USC. And in conjunction with that, you can also utilize SALT, which is a great website that USC that you'll have access to, where you can also use budget planning worksheets. There's videos that you can utilize, and a plethora of information that can be there that the family can get together and really plan on how to manage the bill and the cost of attendance for USC.
Thanks a lot. I'm actually going to ask Lori to add a little bit more to that response as well.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to sort of piggyback on what Anthony was saying and just advise students that the e-pay account is an ongoing account. Even after August 19th, you should log in and look at your e-pay account and see if there are additional charges. Frequently what happens is our brand new students aren't aware that all of the fees for the fall semester are due before, by the 19th, or every Friday after that until the third week of class, until you can no longer add and drop classes. Often there are program changes. Students pay the bill on the 19th and then add or drop a class, and that new class could have additional fees, maybe a lab fee that the dropped class didn't have. So now you've got an additional amount due on that account, and that needs to be paid by the subsequent Friday. We often have students change their meal plan after they've come to campus and opt for a more expensive meal plan, the next level meal plan, and maybe you've already paid for the standard meal plan. So just remember, if there are any changes on your program, on your housing, on your meal plan, that will result in additional costs. So keep an eye on your e-pay account and resolve it every Friday until the third week of class, and then you're done.
Thanks, Lori. That's a really helpful tip. Okay, I'm going to return to the question about the G6 form and ask Casey to answer that for us.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Sorry, it's a question for Mana, and Mana wants to know more about the G6 form. I didn't explain that properly. Sorry about that.
That's fine. So basically, for the transfer students, like I talked about, you have to do the G6 form, which indicates which school you're now attending for the Cal Grant to be dispersed to. So in order to fill that form out, honestly, the easiest way to find it is just to Google Cal Grant G6 form. It'll come up with the Cal Grant website, csac.ca.gov, and it'll have basically a list of documents, and it's the G6 2016-17 entitlement transfer form, and it's a PDF that you fill out and mail in to CSAC, and they would then give your eligibility to University of Southern California. But it does require you to mail it in, so just make sure that if you haven't done it, that you or fax as well, or it will not be accepted. So mails only. So just make sure that you do that soon, because it can take some while to process.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, so we have a question from Sharon. Sharon has a question about the housing confirmation fee, which was $800, and it says 400 of which is only, oh, it looks like about 400 has been applied to her bill, and she just wants clarification of when the other $400 is going to be applied. And Jessica, I was wondering if you could help us out with that.
Sure.
Response.
So the $800 commitment deposit is for the full academic year. So you are right, it's $400 for fall and $400 for spring. And since we are billed per semester here, $400 is refunded at the beginning of the fall semester, which seems as though it's already been done to your account. And then another $400 will be refunded to your e-pay account probably mid-December, beginning of January, once we begin billing for the spring semester. So don't worry, you'll see that $400 on there again once spring billing begins, because that other $400 is for your spring housing contract as well.
Thanks, Jessica. So Sharon has a follow-up question about work study, and Jessica, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to help us out with that question, since you talked about work study earlier.
Sure.
So just Sharon's question just wants to know what the action required status on the FAST page means when it comes to work study.
Okay, great. So the action required item actually means that you have to go out and seek employment. So anytime you see action required on your FAST page, it's that you have to do something in order to get those funds to your, in this case it would be to find a job and get the payment to your personal bank account. So again, the action required item is for you to actually seek out employment on campus. And again, you can do that at the work study fair that will be held during Welcome Week. I'm not sure, Sharon, if you're a transfer student, but if you are a transfer student, when you come on campus on Friday, if you are coming for orientation, at the expo fair, there will be plenty of offices there as well. And I know in the past some of the offices have also been seeking employment at orientation to kind of get the ball rolling on getting their staff prepped for the upcoming fall semester. You can also check out the Tommy Trojan newspaper when you're on campus, has publications. If not, the Career Center on campus, and it's not too early to contact them as well to just find out if there are any work study opportunities on campus for you to seek out employment.
Thanks, Jessica. So I have a question here for Christy, and this is regarding a family with special circumstances. For example, let's say that a parent lost their job, or there's some other change in their financial situation. What can a student do if they feel that they might not be able to meet their financial obligation to the university?
Sure. At USC, we are definitely about partnering with families to help you achieve your goal. So if something, we understand life happens, there are challenges, parents can lose a job or other special circumstances. What we would do is encourage you to submit an appeal. An appeal has to be done in writing. It can't be done in person or over the phone, but you would submit your appeal in writing and just explain what the circumstances are, and you would submit that through your USC FAST account. There's an actual link in the document library called Appeal Concerning Expected Family Contribution. You would submit it there. And we may ask you for additional documentation, like maybe a separation letter or some other kind of documentation. If we do ask you for additional documentation, just remember we're trying to get the most information and the best picture available so that we can help you achieve that goal of going to USC and making sure that it's affordable for the family. If you ever have any questions or you're not sure, which direction to go, you can always call our contact center. The number is 213-740-4444, and we'll be more than glad to help you and answer your questions.
Thank you, Christy. We now have a question from Kira, and Kira wants to know a little bit more about the Title IV authorization form and what the pros and cons of applying the credit balance automatically to the student account versus getting a refund of any credit balance left on the account. Lori, could you talk a little bit more about this form and address Kira's question?
Okay, I can. Well, I'm going to give you a hypothetical. The cashier's office wants to know, can they hold your excess Title IV funds for a minute to pay for any potential charges that may arise. And in the example I gave a little bit earlier, if you were paying attention, if everything happens according to the schedule, if your Title IV aid posts 10 days before classes, which would be August 12th, and all of your charges are on as they are, and all of the aid comes in, then the refund could happen as early as August 17th and be deposited into your account if you've applied for e-refund. But as I said, during the first 3 weeks of the semester, you can make changes to your student account. You can make changes to your program, which could result in additional costs. You can make changes to your housing or meal plan, which could result in additional costs. And if we've already refunded money to you, then that will result in a charge that you will be responsible for paying for. So if you say yes, answer yes to the should we hold the credit balance, it doesn't mean you're not eligible for the refund. It's just we're going to hold the credit balance past that 3-week deadline so that all your charges can be paid for. After that, we will then refund anyone who's enrolled in e-refund. If you haven't enrolled in e-refund and the credit balance sits on the student account, you simply email the cashier's office and request that they process the credit balance refund to you. Okay, but it would not mean that you're not eligible for the refund. It's just it wouldn't happen automatically on the first day of refunds. They wait until you're done making any changes to your student account. I hope that clarifies it.
Thanks, Laurie. I think that did provide a good bit of information and clarification on that issue. Now, I have an additional question here, and this question I'm going to direct towards Anthony. And let's say, for example, a student is still sorting out their current finances and obligations towards the university, and the student would like to know if they want to make a payment, or they're not sure they can make the whole payment by the deadline, if they can still attend classes.
Yeah, even if the bill is not paid by the due date, which is posted, I think it's like the Friday before the classes begin on the following Monday, typically the due date. If the bill is not paid by that, you can still attend classes, but because you do have an outstanding bill, you will be receiving like late fees and finance charges. Now you can still pay. We will not, automatically just drop you from classes if you haven't paid on that by that Friday, but you will get late fees, finance charges every month. But you can set up a payment plan, which is through Student Financial Services, if I remember correctly. You can also do a Parent Plus loan. If you're an undergrad, you can do a private student loan. You can pay on a credit card or debit card. So there's options available. If you're having an issue with finding financing, you can, if you've already applied or if you're waiting for a loan to go through, you can call the contact center and see if you can get a late fee waiver, which does not prevent late fees from being added or finance charges from being added to your account, but it does make you eligible to have them waived after the bill gets settled. So yeah, you can still definitely attend classes even if the bill isn't paid, but you definitely want to make sure you take care of the bill, because come add drop, if your bill isn't paid, you'll have a restriction on your account and you won't be able to register for classes for the next semester, which would be the spring.
Thanks, Anthony. And do you know what the add drop date is for the fall semester?
I believe it's the 9th of September.
Okay, thanks a lot. Now, I would like to address, well, before we're getting pretty close to time, and I just want to invite our viewers to submit their questions. We do have one more question here, and we'll see if we receive any more. But the question that I have right now, I'm going to direct towards Jose, and it's about private loans. If my family is considering a private loan to cover our expected family contribution, does USC have a preferred lender?
That's a good question. So first off, before you're thinking of using a private loan as part of the resources in this investment that you're taking into yourself, you want to make sure that you're exhausting all of your Title IV aid. So essentially, make sure that you're accessing all your federal grants, your federal student loans, as well as your Parent Plus loan if that's an option. Reason being is that there are certain repayment plans for these loans that tend to be a little bit more favorable than some of the private loans that are out there. That being said, if you do choose to go with a private lender, USC does not prefer, recommend, promote, endorse, or suggest anyone for one particular student, but we still understand that that's a resource that your family may decide to seek. So if you wanted some assistance to that, we do have a good tool on our website through Elm Select that'll walk you through and help you with making those comparisons for those private loan options. But there's not one specific one that we would direct students or their families to.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, it looks like we don't have any additional questions, so I would at this point like to thank everyone who has participated in our Hangout today. Thank you so much for your time and for submitting your questions, and hopefully you found this helpful and informative. Again, if you have any additional questions or need other information, always feel free to contact our office, and as Christy mentioned earlier, our phone number is 213-740-4444. You can also reach us by email. Just go to our Contact Us page on the Financial Aid website. And the Financial Aid website, if you don't know it now, you should. The Financial Aid website is financialaid.usc.edu. We look forward to welcoming you all in a couple of weeks and hope that your transition to USC is smooth and uneventful and exciting for you at the same time. So take care, and we'll see you around. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.